whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 9th of February, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Big show for you guys today. You know, on the strength of a comment that one of you guys left, and I guess for all intents and purposes, I could just pull up your name here and properly veer credit in your direction. But hey, if you've been listening to this show long enough, you know I'm not going to do that, because I really hate to be on my phone when I'm doing the show, unless I'm reading an email, because otherwise I'm just going to get distracted. And you're probably like, yeah, you'd be surprised how many you watch a podcast, people just on their phones during the show. It's crazy. Hey, I mean, some people can multitask. I think maybe visually it's always just a little not very appealing to me. Kind of niche, weird way to sort of derail this momentum that I had built up as the show was starting, and then I kind of just went left, called an ISO, started talking about my own thing. But anyways, the guy left a comment, and he was like, well, my pinned comment was, hey, sorry about Monday's episode. I was kind of tightly wound. Like, I kind of feel like I need to dial it back a little bit. There's a little bit too much sass in this episode. I need to, like, look at myself in the mirror and do a hard reset. So that way when Friday's show comes around, I'm not just, like, mad about a bunch of stuff and, like, yelling at emailers. And one of you were like, why don't you just dedicate an hour to hating and call it the Sassing Hour? That's a good idea. So all week, I've been thinking to myself, instead of like, did you see this? Did you hear about this? Things I saw this week. I was just trying to think of everything that was pissing me off. And so that ended up, it was a weird week, like mentally. I actually just ended up getting angrier and angrier every single day. And then I also forgot that the trade deadline was looming. And I forgot that I wasn't going to have to look that far for something that really made me mad. And then the trade deadline, it came and went. And guess what? That's what we got to start with today. Did you see this? Did you hear about this? The NBA trade deadline just happened. If you look across Pistons land right now, people are upset. The pitchforks are out unequivocally. It's not quite like DEFCON 5 or DEFCON 1, whichever one is worse, right? But people are upset because what they just saw is a Detroit Pistons team that has been struggling to be an NBA team all year not do a ton at the deadline. And everything, well, not do a ton. Hold on. They did do a ton. That's what I'm getting at. Hold on. Because everything they did was kind of on the margins. Right? We didn't even go get a guy like Tobias Harris, which is good that we didn't. It would have been insane if we did, right? What he's doing in Philadelphia is way more important than what his mission would be in Detroit, like especially with no Joel Embiid. Like, they need Tobias Harris. I'm very happy Daryl Morey didn't do that, right? Everything else, though, was just kind of like oh, I guess that's fun. Like, oh, I guess. So it just kind of was bleh. It was boring. You know what I saw? I saw what we've been waiting for all year, which was a team from the front office down to just like operate like an actual basketball team. How many years have we, and we'll get to the bad stuff. I'm not very happy about this deadline, but let's start with the good stuff. How many years have we looked at the Pistons, even under Troy Weaver's watch, and they had actual shit that they could sell off, and they just didn't? For some inexplicable reason, they just didn't. They were like, no, we're actually going to hold on to this value, and we think it's going to appreciate over time. All the time, constantly. And if nothing else, the Pistons having like 7 dudes go out and like 9 guys come in total, right? I'm including guys that got waived and whatever. Again, we'll get to everything in just a second. But this was the closest, Pistons fans, that we could ever get to Troy Weaver being in his like 2018 Cavs at the deadline era, right? Where it's like a complete overhaul, top to bottom, day and night. By the way, the Pistons have what, like 7 wins on the season this season? 5 of them have come on the day that either the Pistons or the team that they're playing have made a trade. Huh? So that was the recipe. If the Pistons played a game and they had just made a trade, or again, the team that they were playing, I think of those 5 wins, I think 3 of them were us making a trade. And then I swear we played the Knicks or the Raptors on the day of the OG trade. I think it was the Raptors. So it's technically the Raptors that made a trade while we were playing that. We won. Right? And then I think one of them was maybe the Wiz. I don't remember what the other one was. But 5-0 when the Pistons or the team they're playing made a trade this year. It's a damn shame the trade deadline is come and gone, because that means that the Pistons are not guaranteed to win a game the rest of the season. Or at least guaranteed to have the opportunity to, which is too bad. But everything that Detroit was doing, especially early on with the Fontecchio trade in Utah, it felt like they were operating on the margins in a way that was positioning themselves for what they've always done. Under Troy Weaver's watch, this valuing of cap space as if it's going to be the end-all be-all. This will be what drives us. This will be what gets us out of the hole. It's blind faith that you're going to be able to do something with that money, and it extends your timeline in the chair with upper management and even with the fans, because it's like you can point to this really big shiny number and say, this is what we're going into the summer with, is this number right here. You can't convince me that they're not going to do something dumb with that, is the thing. You can't convince me that that's like a fair assessment, because what ends up happening is you give Joe Harris $20 million just to find out that we don't actually like to play him that much, and his knees also don't really work. And when he does play in the games, it's like he's not really Joe Harris anymore. He's just not. So you gave that guy a bunch of money, and then he's not on the team anymore. He's gone inexplicably. As quickly as he arrived, he was gone. I'm not going to get mad retroactively about the Jeremy Grant contract. That worked. A whole relationship worked in Detroit's benefit, whatever. But at the time, we were all kind of like, what? Like, huh? Hey, the market's the market. You had to pay him something, right? If we didn't pay him that, Denver was literally going to give him the exact same contract. Would it have made more sense for Denver? One would argue it would have. But again, it was beneficial to us, so whatever. So let's go down some of these trades. I was very famously annoyed at the thing that kicked all of this off, which was like a month ago at this point, Marvin Bagley going to Washington. I was upset that, like, you have this log jam up front with a bunch of bigs. Most of them can't play. Marvin Bagley actually kind of proving, wait, is he kind of an NBA player now? Like, yeah. One of the only dudes on the team who actually knew his role and, like, understood his value and when he was at his best. Traded him. Okay, you got Danilo Gallinari, but not on the team anymore, by the way, and Mike Muscala. And even though I've kind of given up on watching the Pistons a little bit, they tell me Mike Muscala has been playing well for Detroit. So we'll see, right? But then we move forward. Oh, also Isaiah Livers was gone. So the Pistons trade Monte Morris to Minnesota. We get Shake Milton and Troy Brown and a 2030 second-round pick. Okay, cool. Stock the cupboard with second-round picks, Troy. I like that. That's cool. I don't know what's going on with Shake Milton these days. Did he went to Minnesota and they were like, don't shoot the ball. I swear to God, if you shoot the ball, you're off this team. They'll just yank him. I don't know what's going on with that. Troy Brown 2 years ago, I would have been like, whoa. Now I'm just like, okay, body, if nothing else, NBA player to get us through the rest of the season. Because it's also, just to derail myself for a second, the Pistons weren't going to do anything at the deadline that fixed this. There is nothing that Detroit could have done at the deadline to make this better, or to make the bleeding stop, or to make. All they could do is look to the future and figure out, what do we want to achieve in 6 months, and how can we position ourselves now to get there. That's what they had to do. And I think that's what they did a good job doing. Whatever the plan ends up being, and it's clear that they're just going to offer Miles Bridges a shit ton of money. It's a completely different conversation. But it's clear that they want to do something like that, right? Tobias Harris, whoever it ends up being. That's what they want to do. And if that doesn't work, what's plan B? First of all, I don't believe they have one. But what it will end up being is trade for a disgruntled star. Maybe that's when they swoop in on DeJounte Murray. Maybe that's when they're like, Trae Young, what is he up to? And they're like, here's Asar Thompson and Jaden Ivey. Have fun with Jaden Ivey and DeJounte Murray, by the way. Here's Asar Thompson, Jaden Ivey. I'm just throwing shit out there, right? That's what their plan B is probably going to be, and it's going to suck, and we're all going to hate it. But I digress. Yeah, then we got Fontecchio from Utah for nothing. For nothing at all. That was actually a whoa. It had the trappings of, is Tom Gores and Arn Tellem, are they out of the kitchen for this deadline and they're just going to let Troy Weaver do Troy Weaver shit? Because I know that it's easy to look at a lot of his moves and be like, no, he actually doesn't know how to make trades. Look at the Wiseman deal. That did not work at all. Right? You look back at the Bruce Brown trade. I always like to do revisionist shit on the Bruce Brown trade, and you know what? For once, I'm not going to do it. For once, I'm not going to do it because I've exhausted myself even talking about it. But Fontecchio was the guy who, I don't know if you guys remember, we played the Jazz 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, and honest to God, for the first time in 5 or 6 years, a guy walked onto an NBA court. I had no idea who he was. I couldn't clock him at all. I didn't recognize his number, didn't recognize his haircut, nothing about him. I was like, I have no idea who this guy is. Guess who it was? It's Fontecchio. He ended up, by the end of that game, dude, he was giving us buckets, and I was irate. I was like, who the hell is this guy? Not only do I not know who he is, but he's really good. Well, we have him now. He's on our team now. Little floor spacer. I like it. I'm on board with it. Fun little move. Again, on the margins. Oh, also, I say we gave him up for nothing. Kevin Knox was in the deal. So I guess, yes, we did give him up for nothing. Kevin Knox, yeah, I put together a few solid games this year. You guys let me know about it every single time. You see that Kevin Knox game? I did every single time, by the way. But I stand by what the overall sentiment of his career is, which is just like, stop playing basketball. Go do something else, please. Pistons get Daniel House from Philadelphia, and then ended up waiving him. And so there was like 2 hours where I was like, oh my God, the guy who was so horny that he almost compromised the NBA bubble in Disney is on our team. I like it. So this original trade comes out that Alec Burks gets traded to New York. And what was it? It was like Quentin Grimes and 2 seconds is what it was. Was that part of it? And we were all like, oh my God. Quentin Grimes was actually a member of the Motown Noah All-Star team his rookie year before he even played a game. The 2021-2022 Motown Noah All-Star team, coached by Avery Johnson. We had Cade Cunningham, Luke Kennard, Miles Bridges, Nick Claxton, Isaiah Stewart, Kobe White, Colin Sexton, Jeff Green, Rashawn Holmes, Naz Reid, had some vision on that one, Quentin Grimes, Dwight Powell, and Josh Christopher. So Quentin Grimes, Motown Noah All-Star, loved him at Houston. He's got a burner, can really shoot that thing. That's what Detroit needs right now is guys who can actually play and guys who can actually shoot threes. You get Quentin Grimes for Alec Burks. We're all like, whoa. Like, that's a good deal. And then Woj like really buries the lead. And it's like, actually, Bogdanovich is in this trade too. And you're like, what? You're like, huh? And he's like, yeah, Malachi Flynn, Ryan Arcidiacono, and Evan Fournier are also going to Detroit. And this is where people really drew exception because it's like, so we didn't get a first for Bogdanovich. Not only did we just not get a first for Bogdanovich when we were told a year ago that somebody offered 2 first-rounders for Bogdanovich, but the Knicks also, and I have this screenshotted here, the Knicks were also able to acquire OG Anunoby, Bojan Bogdanovich, Alec Burks, and Precious Achua without giving up a single first-round pick. If I was just a general NBA fan, if I wasn't a Pistons fan, I didn't have skin in any of these trades that happened, not a Raptors fan, not a Knicks fan, I'm pissed looking at this. I'm pissed being like, why did teams let this happen, right? So imagine how I feel being one of the teams to have let this happen. I'm disgusted by it. But I think what's also true is if they could have traded Bogdanovich for a first, don't you think they would have done it? That's what bothers me, is the people who are like, this is basketball negligence. Like, if you wanted to get something for him, and even if half of the guys they traded for, they didn't even end up keeping, the same way that with Daniel House, it's like, oh my God, for like 2 hours. For like 2 hours, I'm like explaining to my girlfriend, no, Ryan Arcidiacono, he's played in like 20 straight games and he hasn't scored a point. No, Ryan Arcidiacono, like fucking game-winning assist to Chris Jenkins in the national championship game against North Carolina. Ever heard of him? Passed Chris Jenkins the ball very famously in that moment. Ever heard of him? And then like 2 hours later, not on the team anymore. Oh, okay. Bye, Ryan Arcidiacono. So we contributed to that. But again, like, Troy wasn't like, I have this one offer on the table and I could get a first, or I could just do this other deal. And like, he didn't do that. Everything they did, believe it or not, was probably calculated in some sort of a way that, again, they're just trying to position themselves for what they want to do in June and what they want to do in July. Even if we end up hating that, even if we don't agree with it. I kind of like what Detroit did because they didn't go and try to do the disgruntled star thing too early. I would argue, do we even know if they have enough to be doing that? Capital-wise, asset-wise. Really bearing the lead here because I forgot that I need to do a whole eulogy essentially on Killian Hayes because that's the real news of the day. Killian's going to get his wish. He's going to get a change of scenery, but it's over. Waived by the Detroit Pistons. Former number 7 overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft. The first draft pick of Troy Weaver's regime. The night that we went after Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, Killian Hayes, and Saban Lee. Of the core 4, only 1 remains. I think some people would have guessed that it would have been Sadiq Bey. But it was actually Isaiah Stewart. Which I think people would have comfortably put him second. I think even after the first month of Killian playing basketball, people were like, it's not going to be him. It's not going to be him. Even though he was hurt in the first month that he played badly. He was done for like 6 months. It was his shin, wasn't it, in his rookie year? It's brutal that it's over. But the way that it ended was so ugly that, people are definitely doing this dance on the grave, the witch is dead thing. I just think it's sad. I just think it's really sad. And I'm not going to lie and say, oh, he was set up to fail and people never gave him a chance. He was not set up to fail. People did give him a chance. Even if there were ebbs and flows with it, right? Some people, they would have started and they were like, no, like we should have drafted Halliburton. And then eventually when he starts to put together some games, people are like, oh, I can't see the vision. You draft Cade and you kind of start to see it a little more and you trick yourself into thinking it's going to work. And then it doesn't work. He just never evolved. He just never tried anything new. The best thing that, really happened over the last 3 years was like his confidence went up a little bit. Sure, it would be easy to make the joke like maybe it shouldn't have gone up because then he's just putting up more shots that he missed. Yeah, but you always rathered him do that than just be so tentative and like almost scared to shoot it. That when he would just kind of let it fly, I mean, opposing broadcasts would always comment on it like, Killian Hayes shooting a lot. Like that's good for his career, but like, was always a plus defender. As his career went on, what else he got better at? A high number of low turnover games. Very responsible with the basketball, but he can't score. Had the third or fourth worst true shooting percentage in the history of the NBA while meeting like a certain threshold of like games played or minutes played or something like that. Right. And this isn't a numbers pod. We don't care about true shooting percentage, honestly, least of all on this show, but that's worth something. That's not nothing. And if we need to use some actual, some empirical evidence to suggest that maybe it didn't work with this guy, I would point to that too. Not that that's the sort of the tell-all, but it sucks to have seen it gone down this way. It sucks that is the funniest part going to be when we look back on it and we're like, that motherfucker requested a trade? Like, what did you want us to do about that? What did you want us to do about that? He is going to be on another NBA team. I do feel very, very, very strongly about that. Even if it's not San Antonio immediately, it could be one of those things where somebody just like picks him up to like finish the year, like a Dennis Smith Jr. situation, like what we did with him. And then he uses those last like 15, 20 games of the year to prove to an NBA team that he should get another contract. It could happen. And even if it, however it shakes out, I do think this time next year he will still be under contract. He'll get one more chance somewhere else. Because, again, what he has defensively and what he has as an initiator, sort of like as an orchestrator, there's something there. He just can't fucking score. That was the Pistons trade deadline. Kind of broke my heart, kind of pissed me off. But they weren't going to immediately fix anything today. Let's move on. It's that time of the month where Nick decides that it's time to do a long-winded segment, that there's a chance that halfway through it, he's like, I'm taking way too long on this thing, and then he kind of slogs through the rest of it. It's time for another one of those segments because I want to try something fun. I love bemming. I love betting, love gambling, but I don't want to put actual money on the Super Bowl, and you probably don't either. So I decided to make some, like, Motown Noah Coping Hour Super Bowl 58 prop bets that my girlfriend and I are going to be doing in the house. And I thought you guys might want to play along at home. And this is my way of sort of previewing the Super Bowl as well. These are the things that I'm going to be paying attention to during the Super Bowl. Okay? Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, open the Notes app on your phone, and let's play along. So starters, who's going to win the coin toss? We're going Kansas City. I text my brother. I go, Matthew, you see this? You hear about this? 8 of the last 10 teams to win the coin toss go on to lose. So they've gone on to lose the Super Bowl. He responds. He goes, actually, it's 9. And he sends me a different graphic. Okay. So I guess it's 9. So basically we're saying she thinks Kansas City's going to lose the Super Bowl. So she wanted to say that Kansas City's going to win the coin toss. So there you go. Kansas City win the coin toss. Number of planes in the flyover during the national anthem or after the national anthem, whenever the flyover is. Number of planes in the flyover. Over under 5.5. Over under 5.5 planes. We're hammering the over on this one. I think it's going to be 6. I think they're going to do a tight V formation. I think we're going 6 planes. Over under 5.5 on the number of planes used in the flyover. Moving on. Color of the fireworks used to end the national anthem. And the home of the brave. Fireworks. What color? And there may be a few, but like, what's the main color firework? We're going red. It feels easy. It feels like the simple answer. I don't think we need to overthink this one. We're going red. Okay? Times the word legacy is mentioned pre-kickoff. Now, this is only in like the 5 to 7 minutes that Nance and Romo are on the air. Like, when they send it up from the pregame desk, they'll go up to the booth. And then from when they go to the booth to the second it kicks off, how many times is the word legacy mentioned? Over, under, 2.5 times. You have a lot of guys on both sides of this game in Kansas City and in San Francisco where I think this word could be thrown around. Over, under 2.5 times, we're going under. We think it's only twice. We've gone through the scenarios in our head, and we think it's likely they say it twice, but if they say it a third time, it might be kind of forced. So we're hammering the under on this one. Moving on. Number of commercials that make you go, oh, that was cute. Over, under 3.5. Now, hold on. Let me give you a smidgen of context here, a smidge of context, rather. I don't know if you see this, you hear about this. Apparently, advertisers this year are scared of one thing when it comes to Super Bowl commercials, and that one thing is you. It's me. It's the consumer. They want to play it safe this year. They don't want to do anything that's kind of on the edges a little bit. They don't want to do anything that might ruffle some feathers. They don't want to get Bud Lighted. Literally is what this comes down to. So the word right now, and I know in 2024 you can watch Super Bowl commercials early, but that's insane. I'm not going to do that. The word right now is all these brands are playing it safe. And they're going for like warm and happy and like family driven and just feel good shit is what they're going for in Super Bowl commercials this year. So number of commercials that make you go, oh, that was cute. Over, under 3.5. We're going with under because we are worried that knowing that information is going to trick us. And so it's going to be harder for us to actually buy into some of these commercials. So we're going with under 3.5 on commercials that make us go, oh, that was cute. You know how every year, moving on, during the Super Bowl, they'll do and here are the stars at the game, and they'll spend like 60 seconds cutting to all the different suites and stuff. The stars of the game feature, does it happen in the first half? Or does it happen in the second half? That's it. We're going first half on this one. She didn't really want to elaborate. She said it was just a vibes thing. She's like, it's going to happen in the first half. Okay, can't argue with that. If it's in the air, it's in the air. Nothing else to explain. Number of usher outfit changes during the halftime show. Full outfit changes. I mean, like head to toe. Okay, full outfit changes, 3.5. Over, under 3.5. We are going under. Get about an 18-minute set. Usher's never really been about like the wardrobe and the fashion of it. It's more about the performance and the choreography and the histrionics that come with it, you know. So I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of that out of him. Moving on. Team losing at halftime goes on to win the game. Yes or no? That's it. Yes or no? The team losing at halftime goes on to win the game. We're going with yes, again, because she's manifesting that the 49ers are going to be losing at halftime. And so they're going to go on to win. Kansas City wins the coin toss, loses the game. She's really in it for San Francisco, which is funny because I would prefer Kansas City wins. Give me the dynasty. Give me the dynasty. But also I want San Francisco to win because I like a lot of the dudes on that team, and it would be cool for Christian McCaffrey to have a ring. But is the worst thing to happen to day 3 of NFL coverage Brock Purdy winning a Super Bowl MVP? God forbid Mr. Relevant wins a Super Bowl MVP, because then day 3 just becomes a whole different beast that I don't know if people are prepared for. Moving on. Yes or no? Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift touchdown dance. I don't know, maybe he does like shake it off. He does something, right? I just feel like, and even though up to this point he hasn't, it's the Super Bowl. We're already going to be spending, at some point in the first quarter of the game, probably it's going to be mentioned that Taylor's fresh off of the plane from Japan. They're probably going to mention all that. They're going to cut to her in a booth. They got to talk about her in this game because of that, she is kind of part of the story here. It's the Super Bowl with how many people are going to be watching, with how many extra people are going to be watching just because she's there. does it feel like the moment that Travis kind of, if he scores, depending on the moment and the, everything, there's a lot of variables here, a lot of moving parts. Yes or no, does Travis Kelce do a Taylor Swift touchdown dance? We're going yes. It's a Super Bowl, right? Put on a show. I want to root for it. I don't want to root for it to not happen. We're going yes. A ceasefire call to action will play during the game. At some point between kickoff and the final second ticking off, a commercial, a call to action calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East will air. We're going no. We're going no. I'd be shocked if it didn't happen. I think it probably will. It probably will, but I'll be a little surprised. If they're playing it safe this year, and then my argument is, well, why did they get to do all that he gets us bullshit on the Super Bowl last year? Remember that? That was insane. And we can't call for a ceasefire in fucking Gaza? What? We're going no, though. It's not going to play. They're playing it safe this year, but it totally will, right? But it totally will. 2 more. Color of the Gatorade dumped on the winning coach. If we have to do one color, if we can only pick one color here, we're going orange. If I had to pick a color for each team, Kansas City orange, and then San Francisco, I've been teetering, but I'm just going to go blue. I'm sorry, purple. Kansas City orange, San Francisco purple. Gatorade dumped on the winning coach. And then finally, number of beers I drink during, again, kickoff to the final seconds ticking off. Number of beers that I drink. Over under 4.5. I don't know about this one, guys. This is a tough line. What am I going to be drinking? Maybe that matters. Whatever it is, it'll be a light beer. It'll be like Miller High Life. The like natty ice that they have at Walgreens is always like $3 for a sixer. Sometimes I just go for that, but not for the Super Bowl. I don't think I will. I'll probably go for the champagne of beers here. Otherwise, it would be like old style, maybe PBR. So it'll be something like that where I could just like hammer them. But over under 4.5, usually 3 is kind of my number, and then I'm done for the night. I'll switch to something else. But 4.5, it's the Super Bowl, last game of football for like 7 months. I think I'm gonna go all out, and that's it, folks. Those are the prop bets. Let me know how you do, and let's move on. All right, I need to talk to you guys about something. Pretend that I'm reading the email here. I need a ruling. I need an etiquette check for all my hoopers out there. I need a basketball ruling on something. I've not brought this up. I've been sitting on it. I've been thinking about it, and it just keeps bothering me, and I finally just need to bring it up on the show. I have 2 instances that I need to talk about. They happened within 45 minutes of each other, okay? I was playing basketball the other night. I was at a gym, and it was busy, right? Courts were busy, so it was one of the situations where I knew I wasn't going to get a court to myself. That's fine. So I walk over, and I'm shooting on this like half hoop with 3 other dudes, okay? Eventually, after like 15 minutes, the other guys have been there a while. Everybody clears out. It's just me on this court for like 5 minutes. So I'm shooting around. This guy comes over. It's lightened up, by the way. The gym has lightened up. And a guy just like comes over. He's wearing a compression sleeve on one leg and like a shoulder brace on the other. And he immediately camps in the low post. And I'm just kind of dribbling around. I'm like, okay, what is he doing? He's like tying his shoes just like 5 feet away from the rim. I'm like, okay, like that's annoying because if I miss, I might hit you. Like it's an annoying place to just stand. And then he just spends the next 20 minutes working on his low post game. Like he's literally sitting there on my court, by the way. I was literally just here by myself, and he is camped within like 8 feet of the rim, like working on like fucking like his step through and like facing up and like doing like a bunch of like back to the basket, like rolling and shit, all right under the basket. And so I can't really shoot because if I do and he's not looking, like, hey, I know myself. I might airball. Like, I'm probably going to miss. I don't want it to rim out and hit you in the back of the head. And I don't want to have to yell ball every single fucking time. Like, what is this, dude? So every time that he would, like, again, he would do a fucking step through and, like, finish some bullshit at the rim. And then he would, like, take it back up top, and then he would, like, kind of go down. So when he would take it back up top is when I would get my shot off. But then he was going so damn slow, I was literally only getting to shoot, like, every 2 to 3 minutes. Like, see, I'm just dribbling around otherwise. And eventually I'm just like, fuck it. And I just start throwing shots up. Of course, the first shot that I put up, it rims out and it's going right towards his head. I'm ball. And he gets out of the way. I'm like, sorry about that, dude. But also like, what the fuck? Like, fuck you. Whatever. Second shot literally happens again, but this time I don't have enough time. It misses and it just hits him. Okay. I apologize. He just doesn't stop what he's doing and he just keeps working in the low post. Whatever. So in my head right now, I'm like, am I the asshole here that I keep shooting the ball or that I just don't go somewhere else? I shoot one more time. It fucking hits him again. And I was like, all right, dude, I'll go to a different fucking court. Like, it's fine. And I said it just like that because I was a little bit pissed. I can look back on it and be like, oh, maybe I could have dialed it back a little bit. But also, fuck you. Working on your fucking post game when I'm literally just shooting around here by myself so that I can't really do anything. But, like, you can. Here's my thing. If everybody did this, it would be a problem. If everybody was doing what you're doing, we would have a problem. But because you're doing it, it's not a big deal. Fuck you. And he, like, kind of laughed. He's like, no, dude, like, you're good. You can stay here. He was nice about it. But I was like, fuck you, dude. You're an asshole. So I just, like, go down to the other end of the floor, right? Empty court. The second, so I need a ruling on that. Is that guy an asshole? I'm going to the second thing now. Imagine I'm literally, like, reading you guys an email, basically. You guys I need the ruling from. So fuck that guy, right? I need to just give me some moral standing on that. I go down to this other end of the court, and it's these two guys that immediately show up. I'm like, okay, fine. And I can tell just by the vibes, one of two things is going to happen in the next 15 minutes. We're going to be shooting around, and these two dudes are going to ask me to leave so that they can do some ones, which is totally fine. Hey, like, get your shit off, guys. Or they're going to drag me into, like, running fives or something. Like, one of those two, I can just tell it's going to happen, right? Which is not the first time that happens, which is why I know that. Like, I just, if you've, like, I don't really need to explain this to you guys. You know the vibes of like, two dudes. Because two dudes have asked me, like, semi recently, and they were just really, really nice. They were two really good dudes. But anyways, so these two guys end up going, you want to run fours? I was like, no, I don't. I just come here to shoot around. Like, I don't move around that well. Unfortunately, even though I am 25 and I'm young, I am at an age where if I don't move for a while, you're like kind of shocked at like how little you can and like how much restriction there, how little mobility you actually have. I am at that point where I can't just get up and go, right? So I was like, no, dude, like straight up, I'm here to shoot around. Like, thank you for asking, but no, I'm good. And his other friend is like, it's just them. Like, it's just those little kids. And I was like, I like look over to where he was pointing. It's a bunch of like 13-year-old kids. I was like, it's those fuckers? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, fine. Like, like I'll play these kids. Fine. We'll do 4. 3 grown-ass men, by the way. 3 grown-ass men. The oldest kid out of this group could not have been 15. Like, at most, he was 15. And so we go over there. And I'm going to, I guess, make this as short as I can. I have very bad social etiquette and social cues. Everyone's, like, dapping, like, introducing themselves. So I was like, can we just fucking start? Like, please, can we just start? First of all, we were playing to 32. What the fuck is that? We, like, start. I go, what are we playing? We do, like, 1s and 2s, 2s and 3s. Like, you know, you do that. We were doing 2s and 3s. Okay, cool. I go, we're doing 21 then? They go, no, 32. They said, no, 32, like I was the fucking asshole. Huh? Is that what the kids do now is they play to 32? Okay, cool. Whatever. So here's why I'm bringing this up. I did something I wasn't proud of. I did something that I don't need you guys to tell me this wasn't cool. I just need to tell you guys because I feel bad about it. But this little punk fucking kid, little fucking TikTok kid, I get the ball on like the first possession. I put it up. It's a brick, like not even close. Okay, it's a bad shot. It was just awful. This kid banked that. The next time I touch the ball, he goes, non-shooter, and backs up. He's like 13 years old. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And I'm pissed, and I shoot it. Well, it goes in. So me, I'm not around people that much. I don't get out that much. So when I get mad, I don't care that it's a little kid. So while I didn't put hands on this kid, I got in his fucking jersey and I was like, that's one. That's one. And then the next time I got the ball and I made it, I was like, 2. The next time I got the ball, made it. That's 3. And then this little fucking kid, his like friend went on this take. The deeper I get into telling this story, the more of a loser I'm going to sound like. But I need to be authentic with you guys. I fucking hated this kid. Like, there's a moment where he's like trying to drive the lane and I have to make a decision. Like, either I'm taking this charge and this kid's going to the fucking hospital, like he's going to die, or I get out of the way and I don't cause a problem with as a fucking 25-year-old with this little kid. So I just like get out of the way because I'm like, I don't want to fucking hurt you. But as I get, and this is going to, I don't mean to sound like, as I got out of the way, he crossed me up. That's not, I mean very literally, I made the snap decision to be like, I don't want this kid to fucking break his neck by just running into me in midair. So I get out of the way as he Euros. So it looks like and his friends like, oh, and I was like, oh my God, no way this is fucking happening to me right now. Like, I please check the cameras. Please check the fucking cameras because I did not just get fucking diced by this kid, okay? Acting like he just fucking hit me with a sham god. Like, no. Right? And I'm fucking, and then his little friend, like, goes on this take that he just, like, then he's like, no, what are you doing? And the kid was nice as fuck. He just, like, lays it up. It was a nice little finger rolling. It was a bucket. And the kid just immediately goes, yeah, good take. And I look at him. I was like, the fuck? I was like, 2 seconds ago it was a bad take. Now it was good. Shut the fuck up. And it was at that moment that I was like, all right, dude, you this is a little kid. I'm explaining this to my girlfriend. She's like, what is your fucking problem? Why are you like this? I was like, control the kids at this gym. I don't know. Like, it's a Saturday night. Why the fuck are they here? Go do something else. Like, go literally be anywhere else. Because I'm also confused because these kids are, like, calling for ball screens and shit. Are we, like, what are we doing? Are we hooping or are we fucking playing basketball? Seriously, what are we doing? And they're, like, doing all this Steph Curry off-ball bullshit. I'm like, have fun. I'm not fucking chasing you guys around. That's insane. Like, you guys are going to have me chase you around. And then there was this one kid. It was the kid who non-shootered me. I, like, ripped his shit or, like, later. Like, it was the closest. Like, I was like, I can't physically fight this kid. I was like, but I can steal the ball from him because I'm a fucking adult. So I don't need a ruling on that one. I just felt like a loser about it, and I wanted to tell you guys about it. But I do need a ruling on the first one. That guy was wrong, right? It wasn't me. Maybe I could have been a little nicer about it. I didn't have to call him a fucking asshole, but also he was being one. So let's move on. Today is Friday, which means we're going to jump into some emails, the Friday Feelings emails, where we do some general life advice stuff. You guys ask some sort of, I kind of ISO'd a little too hard and took up too much time away from you guys on like actual sports related emails. So I apologize on that one. If there was a post-game press conference for these podcasts, I'd be like, yeah, I just need to trust my teammates more. I was a bit of a ball stopper in this one. Need to just trust them with the ball in their hands, give it to you guys a little bit. Share the rock is what I need to do. I ate up too much time. So we're going to just have to directly pivot into the sort of these types of emails, the more serious ones. But the feedback was great last week. You guys seem to really like this, so hopefully we can do a repeat. Some pretty heavy ones this week. So let's jump into this first one from Dylan. Dylan, welcome to the show. Hey, Nick. Sorry in advance. Sorry, subject line, Friday Feelings, parenthetically, religion in relationships. Dylan, welcome to the show. Hey, Nick, sorry in advance that I'm not good at writing emails, but after one of your recent podcasts, I've been wanting to email you with a question about my relationship. Just to give some background info, we've been together for over 2 years. My girlfriend and I got together in our early to mid-teen years. She was a sophomore and I was a junior. Now I'm 19 and work as an electrician, and she's a senior in high school with plans of going to nursing school. We both discuss marriage all the time and want to be married fairly young. Her and her family are very Christian, but not like crazy extremists, as opposed to my family, who were never really all that religious. I've always kind of believed in God, though, but like in a different way than her. She's more of a read the Bible every night and pray type, and I'm more of a see a TikTok about Jesus and be like, hell yeah, love that guy type. And this has been a problem a few times because she thinks I'm not taking it seriously enough. The thing that I'm struggling the most with is the waiting until marriage part. As someone with a higher sex drive, it's been difficult, but I respect her, and I'm not going to try and I'm not going to try talking to her into doing something that she doesn't feel comfortable with. I love my girlfriend more than anything, and we both want to spend the rest of our lives together. It's just really hard because we both believe the same thing, but she's more strict about it. I just want to know what your opinion is on this and what you should do when you both have a deep connection, you work well with each other, but your most important values and morals aren't always the same. Breaking up isn't even in my mind, but I just don't know how to tackle this without completely compromising our entire relationship. Yeah, this sucks, man. This is tough. Like, if I really wanted to water this down, it's just like, I'm so horny and I just can't do anything about it because of my girlfriend. Like, if I really wanted to water it down. But this is a tough situation that you're in. I'm going to be honest. If this woman is still a senior in high school, here's what I know. Is that she is going to be very deep in her convictions and honestly still in a lot of ways in that parental bubble. I think it's really hard to have, and I would say this about anybody who is just this age, right? It's really hard to have a conversation of the level that you want to have with somebody that young. And I only say this to say, like, if you use, sex as your driving motivation here, which, by the way, I already feel a little bit weird, even the fact that maybe she's 18, but even then I would feel weird. She's still a senior in high school. So I'm really trying to take that part of the equation out of this when I talk about it. But, like, if that's what you're going to bring up in any way, which, by the way, don't, and it seems like you know that here, you're not going to be able to pressure her and not going to be able to do it. Of course, you're not going to be able to do it, but don't do that. Don't be the guy who's like, oh, come on, like, it won't be and again, it sounds like you don't want to be that guy. But if you kind of start to push her in a direction in any sense that challenges her motivations, it challenges her convictions, she's not quite at that point in her life where she's ready to kind of be her own person. When you're still in high school, you are still very much within your parents, on your parents' leash a little bit, depending on the type of person that you are. And I would say that when you're as driven by their faith as she seems to be, this is only going to be more true. So I would also say, well, if nothing else, you guys want to get married pretty young. So how much longer would you really have to wait? Probably not that much longer, right? Probably not that much longer. I mean, I know people who they were like super devout and they got married like pretty much immediately. Again, I don't know what your guys' plans are, but hey, maybe you won't even have to wait that long. Maybe by the end of the year. Hey, whoa, who knows? Crazy. Senior in high school, graduating this year. I don't know. But it's usually like once you kind of go off to college and you kind of start to be aware of how different people think and just how the world is different than what you expected that it would be when you were living with your parents for the first 18 years of your life, right? When you eventually kind of go on to do something else and become your own person, it becomes a lot easier to have these sort of like sex is a hard thing to talk about with like anybody. It can be a difficult conversation to have with anybody, no matter how old you are, no matter how long you guys have been dating, no matter what your convictions are. Like, it can be an awkward conversation. But I think when you tie into it all of sort of the religious parts of it, I think maybe it becomes a little bit harder to have that conversation. So I don't know if there is a way to have that to have that conversation, because any direction that you push her in that starts to make her feel uncomfortable, she's just going to dig her heels in even more into what she believes. And you're not trying to change that. You're not trying to, make her or put her in a situation that she doesn't want to be in. I think we're all on the same page with that. But what comes with that territory is just patience. And, it sounds like you respect this woman a lot, and that's enough. That's enough. So even consulting the sort of inner circle, the proverbial inner circle of this show, being my girlfriend on all of these emails that we're going to be reading, when I was talking to her about this one, it was kind of the same sentiment. And we agreed, like, you're just in a unfortunate situation, but luckily you're not really itching to get to that finish line. I mean, you are, of course, but hey, if it takes time, it takes time, brother. It sounds like it's going to take some time. Sounds like it's going to be a waiting game, but your head's in the right place with everything. And I hope it works out with this woman, and I hope you get laid someday. That'd be sick. Sorry, Grandma, but I mean, I got to root for this guy, right? Okay. quick one. Let's move on. There's an email in here somewhere, and I've been trying to find it, and I can't, but it was a guy. He was just like, straight up, like, I'm from Pakistan. I just want to know if anybody else from Pakistan listens to the show. Like, can you do a demo breakdown? It's the United States, Australia, Canada, United Kingdom. Those are like the main four. And then outside of that, I think Pakistan is like 0.001%. So straight up, guy, you might be the only one in Pakistan listening to the show. Which is hilarious to think about, that a guy could walk around an entire country being like, have you seen this? You heard about this? The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Single, a.k.a. Motown Noah. And nobody in the country would know what the hell he's talking about. Nobody. In the entire country, only him. There's something to that. That's kind of cool. The only other thing I wanted to say before we jump into this email, there aren't too many names that give me pause. Like, sometimes I'll have to be like, whoa, that's a lot of vowels, and I'll have to like really slowly sound it out, but eventually I can get there, especially if you gave me the country of origin. Then I could be like, okay, can I tell you guys, Sneaky, who has the scariest names to look at, but then once you figure out how to say them, it's always the most beautiful names? Ireland. What the hell's going on in Ireland that you guys have the craziest names, but the most beautiful ones? I would say maybe Sneaky the same thing about Iceland, although those ones can just be a nightmare altogether. So I apologize if I butcher this, but this is from Ruan. Welcome to the show. Subject line: I don't think I like my friends. Dear Nick, this is a heavy one. Not sure if it goes on the podcast. I'm just going to get straight to the point with this one. I've had the same group of friends since I was 13, but after 3 years, I find that I cannot stand them. They constantly make sexual references in regards to my parents and my younger siblings. They are extremely racist and homophobic, not to mention the most judgmental people of all time. Any conversation I have with them nowadays is centered around making fun of someone that they've never had an interaction with in their lives. Again, usually in a sexual manner. My issue is that when I was 13, I basically decided to cut myself off from my other friends. I was so enamored with this particular group that I decided that they were the only friends that I could have. Now I find myself with only 3 good friends that I don't actually like. I included them in basically every part of my life, so it's very hard to get away from them. On top of this, I go to a small school of 150 students and live in a village of about 1,000 people, so making more friends is pretty difficult. I generally get to school before them, and it's sad to say, but, and then parenthetically he said, yes, I'm quoting Good Will Hunting, the best part of my day is the 3 minutes or so before my friends arrive, quote unquote. Because there's a chance they might not be in for the day, and I get a few hours of peace. I play sports with them as well for nearly 4 times a week, so I can't even get out of that. I have a few other friends outside of the group that don't particularly like the way my friends act and talk. But my life is already so intertwined with theirs that the area that I live in is so small that it wouldn't get me away from them. I don't fucking know what to do, man. I'm 16, and I honestly don't think I'll be able to make new friends until I finish school at 18. But I don't know if I can wait that long. From Rowan. This one's tough. This one's really tough. When I was in 6th grade, I couldn't make friends at all. I just could not make friends with people, and I ended up becoming friends with this group of 3 kids that I should not have been hanging out with, that I should not have been friends with. They were not good kids. As 6th graders, they were not good kids. And even though I never really ended up getting into any shit with them that, doing something I wasn't supposed to do, honestly never really did. I don't know how. I remember I had to kind of go through this period of separation where I was like, I need to distance myself from them and, hang out with, for a lot of the reasons that you're talking about here and then some. I kind of need to distance myself from them and maybe find a different circle. It was easier for me because I grew up somewhere where the middle schools were huge. The high school that I went to was like straight up like 3,000 kids. Like, it was a lot of kids. It wasn't hard to make new friends. Like, I could just go sit at a lunch table if I needed to, and I could figure it out. For you, that's going to be a lot more difficult. Because the alternative is what happened to me in my junior year of high school, where for whatever reason, I just wouldn't go to lunch. And when it was my lunch hour, I would sit in the bathroom by myself in the stall. I would just sit there every single day. And if I wasn't in there, I would just walk around the halls. And I would have teachers be like, dude, are you good? Like, are you okay? And I would always be like, not really, honestly. So I know what it's like to kind of punt on the idea that you're even going to have friends. And I can tell you that that's not very fun. And again, I if I really wanted to, would have been able to. And I oftentimes just decided not to. Some of what I think you're describing here, Maybe some people don't want to admit that this is the case, but some of it just sounds like Boyhood. You know, there is part of it that it's like, yeah, when you're growing up, like 13-year-old kids, 16-year-old kids, they say some pretty insane shit because they're so like reactive to everything that's around them. And then, and they're sponges, and they watch a bunch of South Park and Family Guy and don't contextualize the jokes. And then they just regurgitate all of that. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know what they're saying. They just know that it's funny and that they're saying it. So like, yeah, you just end up hearing a bunch of insane shit. It sounds like maybe you're a little wise beyond your years, and you kind of are like, I actually don't need to go through that phase. I just think everything they're saying is insane. Good. That's good. Look, man, the only advice that I have here for you is like, it does sound like you have this other group that in an ideal world, they wouldn't see you with this other group that you don't like hanging out with. I would love to sit here and say to you, dude, you just have to slowly distance yourself from them. Even if you've sort of, you know, the way you worded it was that you've interlaced your life with them in such a way that it feels like irreparable, that it feels like you're so far in. You're never too far in, dude. You're a kid. You're a kid. And yeah, you're going to go off to, university, do whatever you're going to do in a few years, and you will make more friends. Like, I promise you will. And in the meantime, all you can do for yourself is make it better. That's all you can do. Like, even if that means you're not going to be able to cold turkey not be these people's friends anymore, right? You know that. You know that the weaning yourself off process is going to take time. Would it take long enough that it would get you through the next 2 years, and then, you eventually go on to the next thing and you can make more friends and leave these kids in the dust? Seriously, it's as simple as like, start to like ask these other kids to do some shit. I don't know who you're playing sports with, if it's the good kids or the bad kids. I think you said it was the bad kids. But you really got to like take the reins on this thing. If you want to make it better, you're the only one who can, right? Doesn't sound like these kids are going to not want to be your friend anymore anytime soon. Even the ones who do like you and don't like the bad friends, right? Sorry, hopefully I'm talking about that in a coherent way. It's hard to be like these friends, not those friends. I don't know if I'm getting that mixed up. But this is a tough one because I do totally understand what it feels like to just be with a group of friends that you're like, I'm just not supposed to be friends with you guys. Like, am I just so desperate to feel like I'm part of something, to feel like I'm connected to some people, or that I'm wanted in a certain space, that I will just like attach myself to these people? It sucks. It sucks. And my experience with like trying to make new friends was literally just like, I would sit there by myself, or I would literally just like sit at a lunch table, but like on a complete opposite end where like nobody was. So that way I was sad. Sad. That's what you have to do, especially when you're a kid, right? Like, what do you want me to do? That's how I fell in with the bad kids anyways, is I just sat down. You want to know something? I can't believe my girlfriend would be shocked that I'm even saying this, because she knows how much this bothers me. The kids that I'm talking about, the bad group of kids that I fell in with, they had a nickname for me. The nickname was Trouble, because I was terrified of ever getting in trouble for anything at all. Doesn't matter what it was. I didn't do my work in school. I did not do my work, but I was never late to a class. I was never late to one class from 6th grade to eventually 11th grade. Never missed one class. Shit like that mattered to me. So even getting in trouble, I would like be sick to my stomach. So ironically, they knew this, and as kids who frequently got in trouble, like that's just what they did as like a hobby, they knew how much it bothered me, and they would always call me Trouble. They would not call me Nick. And so as a 6th grader who already didn't want to be hanging out with these kids, and them like having this little fun little nickname for me, oh, here comes fucking Trouble, it was a whole thing. And to this day, like my girlfriend every now and then will call me Trouble. Oh my God. Oh my God. Because it's one of those friend groups where they just like bully you for no reason. Where like you just are you're the food. You're the punching bag. You're the flavor of the week. But it's every day. Like one of the kids who was like the leader of the group, he like got a new phone. It was like a sidekick, right? Like, cause this was 15 years ago. It was like a sidekick, right? So it slid and he's like typing buttons and shit. And I didn't know phones really at the time. Like, I hardly even knew what a fucking iPod Touch was. And so he just like whips it out one day, and I was like, is that a Palm Pre? And he was like, yeah, it's a fucking Palm Pre, Trouble. Shut the fuck up. And it was not a Palm Pre. He was being facetious. But imagine hearing that from a 10-year-old, like as a 10-year-old. I was like, Jesus, man. So I'm sorry that I've made this about me, but I'm just trying to give you, like, I get it. It sucks when you're just like with some people and like you're just not the same as them at all. Like literally at all. But you're going to have to do everything in your power to distance yourself from these kids because you sound miserable, man. Anything that you can do to like force your way in with that other group of that other set of friends that you have. Because if that's all you got to get you through these next few years, man, then you got to make do with what you got. Because we don't want to see you be miserable anymore. So thank you for joining the show, man. Let's move on. All right, last email we're going to read here. Sometimes you just see an email and you're like, I think I need to read this because I know the demo. And even if there's somebody out there who doesn't fit this email exactly, I think there will be one or two of you who are in somewhat of a similar situation. And once I read the email, you'll see where it's going. And even though I don't feel like I'm perfectly equipped to even tackle this, I want to give it my best shot because I think it's an important one. From Finn. Subject line, Friday feels, queer relationship. Finn, welcome to the show. Hey, Nick. This is one of those personal emails. I recently got into a relationship with a trans woman who I've known for some years pre and after transitioning. I've gradually been telling people, as not a lot of people in my life know that I'm bi because I've always seen myself as closer to straight, so I've taken I'll tell them when I want to approach. Valid. It's what a lot of people do. Like when there's something to report, I will report it. Makes complete sense, Finn. Totally get it. While some of my friends, back to the email, while some of my friend groups and family wouldn't have a problem with some of my closest friends, and those who I've known since primary school are your typical young guys who hate pronouns and the gender pay gap doesn't exist, like the average Joe Rogan listeners and MMA goers. This has made me hesitant to tell some more than others. To clarify, these people have been some of my closest friends for years, and I genuinely think that they're good people. It's just TikTok giving them too much of that red pill bullshit. So what would you suggest that I do in this situation? Best wishes, Finn. So this guy's got some shithead friends, and they're in a relationship with a trans woman, and they want to know, like, how do I tackle this? How do I navigate this? You know, I don't feel totally equipped to tackle this one because some of the nuances of these situations are really intricate. They're really tough, but I feel like this is important. No matter how you do this, no matter how you tell them, you need to go into it with 150% confidence. You need to be behind everything that you're saying, because the second that you show a crack and these kids are just like chomping at the bit to like get off a joke, right? That's going to affect you. They're going to see that it affects you, and then it's a wrap. Right? Even if you go into this and you say that shit with your chest and you're like, I love this woman, she's beautiful, like, fuck you if you have a problem with it. Even if you do it all that way, they're still probably going to say some shit, right? But this like alpha brain like mentality, right? This like owning culture where it's like you kind of have to fight fire with fire here, and you got to like big your chest a little bit, and you need to get your shit off because this is important to you. You care about this person. Can I ask, I'm confused on something. Can we use this as an educational moment? If you are, and I don't think you included this in the email, biologically a man, but you're with, and well, not just you identify as a man, you're a man, but you're dating a trans woman, why is that not a straight relationship? Because that's what I don't get is, and I'm sorry to derail the email, but I am genuinely asking this, is if you're a trans woman, well, but that's my question is, why do we even if the end goal is to achieve like societal and cultural assimilation, where it's like we no longer have to worry about trans people getting killed, why don't we just refer, like, if instead of trans woman, you're just woman? Because isn't it the trans part that puts the proverbial target on your back, that's what rubs people the wrong way. Because if you were just like, I'm a woman, people would be like, oh, okay. I don't, whatever. Okay, someone will explain that to me. Great. Maybe we'll get a follow-up here. I don't know. Hey, but why is that not just a straight relationship? Is it, because I would get if you're, maybe I'll cut this. No, I can be vulnerable in this moment. And I told you guys that I was not equipped. I don't need to backtrack here. Fill me in. But whatever you do and however you tackle this, it has to be with every ounce of authenticity. And like, you just have to you really have to get after it. Because if you're not sure about it, and you guys ask for content advice all the time, and what do I always tell you guys? If you don't believe in what you're selling, if you like show any kind of reluctance or any hesitancy, or you pull back, or you're a little bit bullish on something, that's going to come through. And people are going to see that, and that's when people kind of turn it off, and that's when people start to... I would say the same thing here, that you have to believe every single word that you say, and you have to quantify it in terms that they're going to understand. You know, look, man, I talk about how I went through a period of time where I had to kind of distance myself from some friends. That's happened twice in my life. And the second time was because I had a group of friends that I was like, we just aren't aligned. And I'm not talking about like, oh, like just politically, like, oh, this guy wanted to vote for Trump. Like, I'm not going to be his friend anymore. I'm not like that. That's insane. Like, that is identity politics at its worst. But just some of the shit that he said, it wasn't cool to me. You know, when we were like 14, like, and I didn't know, again, the context of anything, like, sure, whatever. But the older you get and the more that you understand, like, some of the struggles that these people go through, like, I'm just not here for some of the bullshit that this friend would say. And eventually it was me and a different friend who I'm still close with to this day. I just watched the Lions game with him against the 49ers. Him and I were at like a breakfast with this guy. And by the time we left, we were like, are we done with him? Like, that was weird. He never left where we came from. And he just kind of never grew up. And that's a hard person to be a friend with. I can't imagine what layer it would have added if I had to be like, hey, by the way, I'm a non-straight person now. Well, not now, like it's new, but like having to confide in that person that I'm not straight, and also having to confide in that person that I'm in a queer relationship. I can empathize with how scary that would be. But I can also say that I would like basically just have to look him in the eyes and be like, this is what it is. And if you're gonna feel like you're fucking shitty situation for you, dude, I'm sorry that you got to go through this. But I bring it up because I think someone's gonna be able to help you. I wish I could like give out your email so that people could email you directly, but I'm obviously not gonna do that. So I'm sorry, man. But I do want to give you the space here for someone to hear your issue, and maybe somebody can chime in with what they did again, because I know my audience, and I know how many of you out there have definitely been in some similar situations. And if you can help this guy navigate it, I mean, that would be great. Let's move on. All right, let's wrap up today's show. I'm kind of irate because I know it's going to be later this afternoon. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to mention that. And then it's going to be tomorrow. I'm be like, oh wow, I forgot to mention that too. And then it's going to be Sunday, and I'm going to be like, oh, wow. And then I'm going to be like, well, it's okay because I can just roll it all over. I've been kind of dropping the ball a little bit this last week of things that on Monday's episode, too, there was a bunch of stuff that I just wanted to get to, and I just didn't. I think it's because the Sunday night, I just had too many beers to watch the Grammys. I was just thinking about celebrities for too long. And then Monday came around, and I was like, what was the plan today? So I just messed it up. And then this entire week has just been moving at like a million miles an hour. Who would have thought that the process of buying a house would be... Who would have thought it would be as expensive as it's been? Oh, you've seen this? You hear about this? Buying a house is expensive in America in 2024? See this? You hear about this? I can't stop saying that, dude. Is that the merch? Is that the merch idea? You see this? You hear about this? Or is that part of the show and it's too early in its infancy? Because I've only been doing that for like 2 weeks now. What would it say? Probably... I've thought about doing like primary control. Beautiful on like the back or something like that for the outro. It makes me laugh every single time somebody's like, dude, please tell me, like, what is the outro? What is the intro? The outro specifically, the funniest part about it is how fried I was when I made that. Truly. And I threw it together because I've talked about this before, but the month that I spent testing this show before it came on the air, I was literally just sitting in this chair, like talking for like an hour every single day. And part of that month was figuring out what the intro and outro would be. I figured out the intro pretty quick, and then the outro was really tough. Eventually, one night I just got fried, and I just like spliced together a bunch of audio from like NASA launches over the intro, and was like, oh my God. And I like ran in the bedroom. I woke my girlfriend up. It's like 1 a.m. I'm like, hi. I'm like, listen to this. She's like, what is that? I was like, I don't know, but it captures the show perfectly. She's like, okay. And the show didn't even exist yet, so she didn't know what that meant. She's like, okay. And then it worked. And then I think it actually worked. But otherwise, I don't know what it would be. Like, it's not going to be good morning, good afternoon. I'm not putting that on a t-shirt. That's insane. No one's going to wear that. I wrestle, what even color is the shirt? Is it that baby blue that I love so much? That university blue that I love so much? Maybe. The color would be pastel no matter what. Unless it was like gray, but then even the logo would be pastel. I don't know. I only bring this up because sneaky a lot of merch questions this week over email. I was very surprised about that. What else I got? I don't know. I don't think I need to force it. I don't have anything to talk about. Okay, if you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Help someone out. I give you guys 3 emails. Leave some advice for one of the emails. There you guys go. Usually I say something nice to me. You don't have to say anything nice to me this week. If I didn't give you a good show, don't say anything nice to me. But give advice to somebody else. All right. I will catch you guys. Go Chiefs. By the way, go Chiefs. But I'm rooting at whoever wins. I'm happy. But go Chiefs.
Computers now have
In
primary
there.
control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.